The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Black Hawk Hauling, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, Wags Food and Culture, Moe's Pizza, The Green Law Firm, Personal Injury Attorney, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. 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 Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area, move. Clear my area. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, JB, the Sports Guy. We got a great show for you all tonight. Later on tonight, we will have the head coach of the Southern University of New Orleans Knights baseball team, Coach Olen Parker, joining us. But we got a great special guest joining us right now. But before we get to him, I'm going to introduce my two co-hosts that you can find on CrescentCitySports.com. We have the one and only VK Jones. What's going on, VK Jones?
What's going on, man? You know, this is the true family of New Orleans sports, and that we are always here to tell the story and finish the story.
Oh no.
So we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, tag, share, and subscribe to the Hash It Out Show on all social media platforms, including the hashitoutShow.com. And we got a guest tonight we're honored to have on. So let's get it going.
Most definitely. But before we get to that guest, we have the one and only George Peppers. What's up, GP?
Not too much, Jared and VK. Nice slipping, which leads me to this. Jared. VK. What do we want to talk about tonight? I'm just trying to throw that in there. Look, it's all good. But no, we're gonna have a great show tonight. We have two awesome guests. It's gonna be fun stuff. Baseball, and more baseball tonight on the Hash It Out show. So let's get started.
Yes, let's get started. This guy, he is a state championship winning coach, and he's looking to lead his team back to the state championship game. We have the head coach of the John Curtis Patriots baseball team, Coach Jeff Curtis. Coach Curtis, thank you for joining us, and how you doing today?
Doing very well, man. Just not baseball weather today. A lot of swimming weather today with all of the rain we got and the flooding we got. But we're just blessed to have good weather so far. You know, we take a day off and hopefully we can get the sun out tomorrow and get dried up and get back on the field.
Yes, sir, most definitely. Coach, before the season started, what were your expectations of your team?
Well, to be honest with you, at a place like John Curtis, the expectation is always to compete for a state championship. We lost some really good players last year off of last year's team, but I felt like we had some pieces to the puzzle that were back, and some newcomers that we felt like could fit into that puzzle. And it was just a matter of trying to put that puzzle together. And right now we're playing pretty good baseball. We had a nice win last night. That kept kind of a winning streak going. That kind of kept our chances of playing for a Catholic League title, still out there. But ultimately, hopefully we're playing our best baseball here at the end of the season and get into the playoffs. And again, the expectation is to compete for a state championship. And right now that's not going to change until until whatever happens after that.
You speak of a streak that you guys are on. You guys have won 12 of your last 13 games. You got to be happy with the way you guys are playing right now, especially with the playoffs about to start very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We've played good baseball, and I'm really proud of the guys. Like I said, fitting those pieces of the puzzle are difficult because you get newcomers with old guys in or returners, and you drop a couple of games, and then of course baseball, everybody knows everything about baseball, and you should do this and you should do that, and navigating those waters are sometimes difficult with the kids because they hear it from the outside. But this team's done a really good job of staying together and keeping the course and trusting the process. And we've played good baseball for the last 3 weeks or so, and we hope to continue that as we round out the end of the regular season, which ends on Monday, and then heading into the playoffs in a couple of weeks.
2017, 2018, John Curtis won state championships. You guys pretty much have been a perennial powerhouse in baseball. How have you and your staff been able to keep this team one of the best teams in the state?
Yeah, we got a tremendous staff that works incredibly hard every day. And I'd be remiss to say if I didn't mention those guys, Malcolm Ogeron, who actually was a teammate of mine in high school, football and baseball, who went on a pitch at Wharton Community College, transferred to Delgado, and then finished his career pitching in a regional at Nichols. And this is his 6th season with us as the pitching coach. He does a tremendous job with those guys. Ryan Camelade, who been at Holy Cross, played at Holy Cross, played at Delgado, played at UNO, and coached at Holy Cross for a long time. We were fortunate to get him last year over. He does a tremendous job with our whole entire program. And Brock Abear, Gamble has been with us in the past and has come back this year, and this is Brock's first year with us. Brock actually played in the Seattle Mariners organization, was an All-American at Southeastern. And they both bring a wealth of knowledge to the offensive side of the game, base running, hitting. And then lastly, Jay Curtis, who's a part of that 17 and 18 state championship teams, and played 5 years at the University of Dayton. And he's coming back and working with our catchers and our defense and also hitting. And so just having those guys, man, they work extremely hard every day. We're fortunate to have about 47, 48 guys in our program, grades 9 through 12. So we're able to kind of spread it out, and those guys can take guys and do some individual work, and we're able to get some teamwork in, and they just do a really good job of keeping everything together. And I just kind of have to manage and right the ship and make sure everybody's doing what they're doing and where they're supposed to be.
You coach alongside Coach JT Curtis when it comes to football. With you being a head coach of the baseball team, what are some of the things that you have learned about coaching from Coach JT Curtis?
Wow. Growing up around it, it's all I know. I think his organizational skills, as far as how to manage practice is a huge one. How to try to keep your players as healthy as possible, but also maximizing the amount of time that you have with the guys on the field. No wasted time. Everything we do has a purpose. It has a reason. We're not just out there just to say we're practicing. So everything is kind of has a routine and has an organization. And that's one of the big things that we want with our guys. We don't want them to ever feel like, well, what are we doing this drill for? It doesn't translate over to the game. We want our guys to always understand why things happen. This is kind of turned into the why generation. And I think that's one thing that Dad has done a really good job of. I mean, heck, when you say he started in 1969 and 70 and 80s and 90s, and probably even into the 2000s, the mantra of a coach is when a kid asks why, well, it's because I said so. You just do it, Now the old school approach.
Yeah.
And he's been able to stem that tide, and he understands the kids today. And he's able to answer those questions why. And we want our kids to ask those questions. We want them to say, well, I don't quite understand why we're doing this. How does and we're able to help them translate that into the game, which benefits their knowledge overall. So I think those are some of the key takeaways from learning from such a great not just a great coach, but a great man also.
VK Jones.
Coach Curtis, man, it is good to see you. Me and you go way, way back, man. You said before, and right what you said was absolutely true because I witnessed it myself. You know, it's something else when you were when I was a former player. Me and Coach Curtis teams went against each other for 2 years. I was at St. Augustine, he was at Curtis, and it's amazing stuff. And you see the transition from the coaching styles, and especially with the kids. Like he's right. Yeah, it was old school back then, but when I see it now, especially with me covering some of those games at Curtis and talking with JT and looking at certain things behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, he adapted. And it's a lot of times, coaches and also teachers, administrators has to adapt to these kids these days. I even have to adapt myself because I'm late in the game. Like, you got some grown kids now, coach, but I got a 5-year-old now. So it's something else that we have to adapt to the children now and to really make some adjustments in parenting and also to try to coach these kids, right, coach?
Right. No, absolutely. That's 100% accurate. You don't want to lose, I guess, your fundamentals, right? You don't want to lose your base. You need to keep your major things major. And whatever you believe, however you're raising your child or however you want to teach your athlete or teach your student, you're going to have your fundamentals. You're going to have your, this is what we're going to do. But also you have to be able to adapt, just like you said, because so many kids come from so many different backgrounds now. Unfortunately, single parent homes are at an all-time high. So you have to be able to adapt to those different situations. Kids that maybe live with grandparents, for a variety of reasons. And again, that's something that he's been able to teach me throughout his time coming through. And one of the things as being a player for him and also being as his son who's worked for him, he's always treated everybody like he's treated me, like they were his own son. He was never any harder on me than he was on, Jimmy Smith or Johnny Walker or whatever other name is out there. Right. He was never any easier on me. We were all kind of the same. So, he treats everybody like they're his own son. And I think one of the things is when you get a question, well, coach, why are you doing that? Well, if it's good enough for my son, then it should be good enough for your son too. And now it's kind of lent itself into almost a grandfatherly figure, and being able to kind of love from that side of it and allow us to kind of be those guys that kind of take over that role that he had, and he can kind of embrace that whole thing kind of as a figure of esteem from like a grandfather concept, but also still have those fundamentals and that sound base of, we're gonna always have God first in our school. Obviously, John Curtis Christian School. He's the most important. Your family's going to be super important as well, whatever that might look like. All right, and then school, and then ball, and we got to keep those things in order. Sometimes they get a little bit skewed, and we got to kind of recenter ourselves and get ourselves back to those fundamentals.
Absolutely. Transparency, that's very, very huge. Looking at it, coach, we still look at it. You played with some great, great ball players. You name it. Something that we had Jonathan Wells months ago on the show. You played with Kevin, it was Kevin Dukes, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah,
Chris Howard.
yeah.
You played Clarence LeBlanc. You played with some unbelievable players, but I still ain't forget that night, that Thursday night when Curtis and St. Augustine played, and it was on WGNO TV, and St. Augustine had a 19-0 lead. You guys didn't panic. You came all the way back. They came down to a 4th and goal to 25. And what you did, and I still tell people to this day, and that's why I always shake your hand. I'm like, I don't know how you did it, but that particular play, you broke about 5 tackles and you made the game-winning touchdown. But it seemed like that night in itself, it was really, really epic all around how intense that game was, especially with a rainstorm before the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that was a memorable night for sure, especially when you look back and you look at the names on defense that St. Aug had. James Hall, Raynoch Thompson, Roland Seymour. I mean, just crazy good names that went on and had, huge college careers and some in the NFL. And yeah, that was a fun night for sure. And I tell the guys all the time, always be prepared for the moment. Be prepared for when the opportunity arises, and if it comes and you're prepared for it, and you do the very best that you can lay your head on the pillow at night and be okay with whatever the result might be. And I think that was one. That's part of that situation right there. You don't ever say to yourself, or at least I didn't, and I tell our kids the same thing. You're never going to be like, I'm going to be the guy that makes a play this time. Because then you could get yourself into over trying and you start becoming about me. But if you're prepared for the moment and that opportunity arises, more times than not, you're going to be successful because you've done what it takes. You put in the hours off the field. You put in the hours in practice. And then the moment comes in the game and it happens. And that's kind of what you're supposed to do. So yeah, that was a fun, memorable night. And I just blessed to be able to be a part of, playing with the guys that you said. Chris Howard, Kevin Dukes, Rodney Guggenheim, a name that probably the best football player to ever play with. God rest his soul. He was a little bit older than me, but Reggie Wilson. I mean, just an unbelievable football player that had a tragic end to his life. But, being around those guys and watching how hard they work, you don't want to let those guys down. You were watching what they went through. You knew how hard they worked, and you had to try to match that intensity and match that work ethic, which brought your game up, which I think is one of the big key things about our school and about our athletics is that if you enjoy competition, then you're gonna thrive in this because that's what everything is about, man. When you get on that practice field, it's all about competing. When you're in the classroom, it's about competing. Because ultimately that's what life is about, man, getting out and competing and trying to do the very best that you can for not only yourself, but maybe for your family, for your kids, for your team, whatever that is. Compete at the highest level and you'll thrive and you'll get better. Your team gets better. And hey, what the heck's wrong with that?
You transitioned a lot in life. You know what I'm saying? You went from starting at John Curtis for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you go to Tulane, you get your education and everything else, and all of a sudden the door opens for you to come back home to Curtis. I know you're not wasn't that far to Tulane, but still you had the opportunity to come back home and you wound up having your own family and everything else. And it seemed like a man like JT, your dad, prepared you for life in itself on and off the field, and you just came back home, embraced it with full force, you and your brothers, to keep things going with the school like your grandfather started. And it's amazing what you're doing, especially with your own family, and at the same time, even what you went through recently.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of people assume, or a lot of people think, like your dad maybe, or your grandpa maybe groomed you for this. Maybe there might've been pressure to come back. Maybe it was always talked about, man, you're going to come back and you're going to teach, or you're going to be a coach, and it was never really about that. For us as a family, we just enjoyed being around each other. And quite honestly, I didn't think he even really think about, coaching, when I left high school and went to college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, quite honestly. Going to Tulane, I thought about maybe trying to get into the business school there. Obviously, it's world renowned. I thought maybe getting into law school, maybe doing something like that. And I was just trying to figure life out, man, on my own, and just kind of going through the process and enjoying being part of a team and trying to build and do the very best that I can. And I found out, like, on Mondays, we finish at about 4:00, and then, man, you know what? I can go catch the end of Monday practice. Let me hop in my car and drive home. I got to get back for study hall at 8, but I can go watch. And so about halfway through my sophomore year, I was trying to decide what I want to do. And I'm like, man, every moment you get, you're still trying to get back over there and go watch the team or go see what's going on. Stop overthinking this and do what God's called you to do. And I truly feel that way. I truly feel like that's something that God called me to do. Yeah, certainly growing up around it and being around the people that I was, yeah, certainly that would lend itself towards that. But there was never any pressure to come back to school and be this person or be this guy. Get out on your own, figure it out. And when you're ready, if you ever want to come back and you're qualified to do so, come on back. And that's another thing that Dad talked about. You can't work here just because you're my son. You go off to college and you flunk out or you don't do what you're supposed to do, you get yourself in trouble. This isn't a fallback. We've worked too hard to build this up. I'll still love you as my son, but if you're not qualified to teach and coach here, we can't have you. And so that was the importance of getting that education and figuring things out. And, towards the tail end, I got a couple of opportunities. Coach Bowden offered me an opportunity with Coach Rodriguez to go GA at Clemson. Coach Selfo wanted me to stay on at Tulane and GA there. And I kind of had to weigh the option of did I want to get into college coaching or maybe go back to high school. It was a difficult decision, but I had recently gotten engaged and with my wife, Tony. And, we talked about it. We just decided that, staying put and raising a family right here in New Orleans and River Ridge is something that we wanted to do and be a part of. And, it's been awesome. It's been a joy to have. I got 2 daughters that are in college now, and I got a sophomore son, an 8th grade daughter, and a 5th grade son. So I'm kind of right in the middle of things going on. But it's been really cool to see those guys grow up, and they have a place to call home. One of the things that a lot of college coaches talk about is, our kids really don't have a place they call home, because I think the average span of a college coach is only like 3.5 years. Because they're trying to get that next job, and that's the life that they chose, and they understand what goes along with that. That's just not something that we want. But our kids have a place to call home, and they always have a home base for when they come back. And I know you talked about this a second ago, VK. When Mom passed away, my girls, it was hard on them. They're 2 hours away in Lafayette, but they were able to get home and come back to their home base and get around their nuclear family and their support system, and then reset themselves, and then get right back on the road, get right back in their studies and their school, and they're doing really well. So I can't say enough about that.
And I know deep down your mom up there, very, very smiling down, proud of what you're doing and proud of the family. So that's really a blessing in itself. Let's get into the baseball a little bit. Your players doing very, very well this year. One of them is one of the best probably since you've been there, or Colin Guggenheim and Danny
Wimprine. Yeah.
You got a player
Chris Jackson.
Yeah, Dagan Bruno. And I mean, he's leading in everything with your team. He's really doing well. What you think about him, especially how he's doing on the baseball field this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a standing joke amongst me and the coaches. Dagan's a dude. I mean, he's a dude. He's a throwback player. It's what we grew up around. Football season, he's going to get out there and he's going to mix it up with the guys and play his tail off and get it going wherever that might be. Obviously, he played quarterback for us, but when Buddy Taylor was a quarterback, which was Dagan's sophomore year, we were like, man, this kid's too good to be sitting on the sideline. Let's get him out there at receiver. Let's get on some special teams. And when you went to him and talked to him about it, he was like, absolutely, let's go. He was really enthusiastic about it. That's just the type of kid he is. And then, turn the page and go jump into basketball. What do you need me to play, coach? You need me to play the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5? And I think he matched up against one or both of Newman's bigs when they played Newman. He's 6'1" maybe on a good day, and he's in there banging with 6'8" and 6'9" and 6'10", and then he can get outside and he can dribble and drive and finish at the rim and then turn the page and go right into baseball. And and that's a lot of thing. Another thing that a lot of guys say, man, what does he play? He plays baseball. He can play all 3 outfield spots. He can play all 4 infield positions. He can catch. He can pitch. I mean, he's just a throwback player, and we've been fortunate to have Dagan, man, and yeah, like you said, the names, Chris Jackson and Danny Wimprine and Colin Guggenheim and guys like that can just multi-sport guys that just are a pleasure to coach. I'm fortunate. He invited me to go tomorrow to his academic awards banquet. I think that the New Orleans Sports Foundation is putting on. So 4.0 student, 26 on his ACT. how in the world he does it all with all three sports and his extracurriculars. I don't know, but man, I love him and I'm proud of him, and I'm glad he's been a Patriot. That's for sure.
I love that kid also. I love Dagan Bruno. I really do. He's a great kid.
That's the number one fan right there, man. But when I covered the Curtis and Brother Martin game, and I think it was Mike Strong, he said these words. He said, "I'm gonna tell you one thing about that kid. That's a winner.
Yeah.
That is a straight up winner." And I'm like, "You're absolutely right, Mike." So next question, you got some other good players on the team, like Dylan Gilbert, also Tyler Mitchell doing well, Brad Chasson, but also a very familiar name in itself. And I have to think, and I know he's definitely related to somebody that I see every time over at Nunez Community College, Connor Mishu.
Yep.
And he's been doing very well. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, he must have a brother because I knew a buddy Mishu, and I think he came from Curtis, but also another Curtis guy playing for Nunez, Reggie Bergeron. So how you feel about how Connor's playing very well, and also does he get it from his older brother?
Yeah. So I was going through, I may have popped up on Facebook memories or something popped up on my phone of a memory. And there was a picture of Connor after one of the state championship games, or maybe after one of the semifinals. I think he was 10 years old next to my son, Jeffrey. And they were right there on the field, so Connor's older brother is Buddy, like you said, is at Nunez, but his oldest brother is Brandon Davis, who played cornerback and shortstop for us, who played at University of Tennessee. So he's been around. Connor's been around for a long time. He's been in a lot. That's what I told him. I texted him. I was like, get a load of this picture, man. You've been in a lot of winning dugouts. And man, he had a phenomenal game last night. He was 3 for 3 with the game winning RBI against St. Aug last night. Hit the ball really well. Starting shortstop as a sophomore. Man, he's been playing really, really well for us. And he's kind of a mixture of Brandon and Buddy. Brandon was just an athlete. Didn't have a care in the world. He just wanted to get on the field and ball. Buddy was a little bit more analytical. He was really hard on himself, wanted to do everything perfect. Connor's kind of right in the middle. So it's a good mix of those two guys, and he's been playing really well for us. But like you said, Brad Chasson, Tyler Mitchell, Dylan Gilbert, those guys have been playing together for a long time with Dagan. That this group has been a pleasure to coach, man. They come to work every day. Everything I've asked them to do, they do, and they don't bat an eye. They don't blink. They've really been a pleasure to coach and be around.
Actually, one more question before I give it over to George Peppers. The big win against St. Augustine, and St. Augustine was up 5-2 against you guys, and you got it done. And it seemed like you guys are right there on the fold, number 2 in the power rankings, in a very tight Caddy league in itself. And it looks like it's going to come down to a wire, Coach. And at the same time, you look at I want to ask you a little bit about the St. Aug program, just a little bit, because of the fact that how talented they really are, and they're getting themselves together, and they just missing a little something, right, Coach? Because, man, they have been in some interesting tussles in the Caddy league, especially this season.
Absolutely. Tip your cap to Barrett and his staff and those guys because they came to our place on Saturday and we really took it to him, man. Bryce Robinson, who's an ultra talented player, man. He just didn't have a good day on the mound that day, and we had a really good day swinging a bat, and we kind of took it to him. And then they turned around 3 days later, and man, they really took it to us. Tyron Kirkland was really good on the mound last night. They executed their game. They bunted. They executed their bunts when they had to bunt. They got big hits when they needed to get big hits. They played solid defense all the way around. He's done a really good job with that program. And, quite honestly, they're going to be a tough matchup for a lot of teams in the playoffs in a 3-game series because they have 3 really good arms. And it's going to be a tough matchup. And they're trending in the right direction. They've lost a ton of close games. A player or two here last night, a player or two here against some other teams in some of those one-run games. And it's a totally different I don't want to say a totally different season for them, but you can almost, flip their win-loss record around. or have a lot more wins, obviously. So they're right there on the cusp. Like you said, they got some really talented players, and they're playing really hard. They play at a high level. They know what it takes to compete. So they're going to be a dangerous team heading into the playoffs.
Bryce Robinson, he's his dad. Me and him graduated together at St. Augustine, so I'm very proud in seeing what he's doing. Me and Mr. Robinson go way, way back. But man, St. Augustine trying to get through some way somehow. George Peppers.
Coach Curtis, first off, thank you for taking the time for joining us, and congratulations on the season you guys are having to this point. Must be fun in a horse race like the Catholic League, because a lot of really, really good teams. You get Jesuit in the next two games. And tell me about the reigning state champions and what you guys are going to have to do to beat that team in a 2-game set.
Yeah, well, it's what you just said. They're the reigning state champions. And I don't know the exact number, but I know they have the most amount of baseball state championships in the state. And really, the team right behind them isn't even close. So they're obviously well-deserving. Everybody knows about their rich tradition in baseball. They're a little bit different team this year than they have been in the past. Typically, Jesuit has some big-time pitchers, guys that can just go on the mound and win them a 1-0 game, just like they did in the state championship game against Rummel last year, or a 2-1 game. They're doing a little bit different this year. They're scoring a lot more runs. They're much better offensively. Not that they're not capable on the mound. They just don't have those big time arms or the real big depth on the mound that they've had in the past. They're capable on the mound, obviously, because they won a ton of ball games and they've been able to win some close ball games as well. But they're tough to defend. They're doing a lot more bunting this year, a little bit more small ball. They're a lot more base hits, but then Everett Denny's hit a few home runs for them. They've got some big bats. Michael Brothers can swing it really well and is a really good athlete. So they got some real talent in that program, as they've always had. You don't expect anything different, and you're always going to get a well-disciplined, solid defensive team out of them. So if you beat them, you're definitely going to have to earn it.
Absolutely, no doubt. And playing a Jesuit this late in the season should sharpen you guys for the playoffs, you would think, right?
Yeah, this is a 2-game series, and it's going to be similar to what like a 3-game series is going to be like coming up in the playoffs. So
right.
Yeah, we're definitely going to use it as that mentality. You're going to play them, and then whatever happens, and you got to turn around and play them again. And that's the way that we're going to approach it. Whether you win the first one, you got to turn around and you got to try to sweep the series in the second one.
Right.
If not, you'll be going to a game 3 like in the playoffs, which wouldn't happen here, but that's kind of the mentality. Or in game 1, if you happen to get beat, we got to turn around. We got to fight for our life in game 2 to get us to game 3. So that's going to kind of be the approach that we have here at the end of the season, like you alluded to get ourselves ready for that playoff run.
One of the players that has really made a name for himself in the Catholic League is a Tulane signee, the pitcher Giancarlo Arancibia, and went on a rash of no-hitters. He got you guys in one of the games this year. I'm sorry to bring it up, Coach, but this kid is absolutely special. The talk about this kid, and you've seen him up close. Tell me about him.
Yeah, no. Look, saying he no-hit us and bringing it, that doesn't this kid deserves all the attention that he gets, man. He's really, really good. He's a competitor. He pitches at an elite level. He competes at an elite level. He's really, really tough to beat. Obviously, Brother Martin beat him the other night. They did a really good job of figuring him out. So tip your cap to Brother Martin. And like you said, in this league, it's really tough. But man, that Giancarlo is a really, really good pitcher. Beat us. He actually didn't beat us last year, but he took it into the bottom of the 6th and hit his pitch count. We wound up tying it up off the reliever, and then they wind up walking us off in the 7th. But basically beat us last year, and then no hit us again this year, and then doing what he did in the playoffs last year. And that playoff run was unbelievable.
Yes.
Going on the road and throwing at Captain Shreve and Northwood up there back to back, and then going up and beating what everybody was calling the unbeatable and Catholic in the semifinals. Just did an unbelievable job, man. He's really good. I think he's got a special arm talent and elite competitive skills.
He and Dag and Bruno.
before you continue, George,
Wow.
I hate to interrupt. You mentioned RNCB. I have
Go
to say
ahead.
this. No, no,
Go
I'm just
ahead.
saying. I had to say this. I actually was on the call for the Catholic Rummel game last year on NFHS, and that was the first time I'm seeing him pitch, and I was like, "This dude has nails, straight nails," and for him to do what he did against Catholic, 13 strikeouts was just unreal. And I'm like, against one of the best teams possibly all around the state, for them to do what they did, and then on maybe the same field that Rummel took Catholic out years ago in an upset. It was unbelievable to see, especially how RNCB pitch. He deserves the attention. I definitely agree.
Absolutely.
Next question. Mentioning Baton Rouge Catholic, they're off to another crazy start, 29-2. They just lost the first game a few weeks ago to Mandeville out of the North Shore.
Yeah.
And Catholic seems to be the team to beat, perhaps. I mean, I don't want to be the handicapper or whatnot, but they're 3 percentage points ahead of you guys. And
Right.
Rummel is like a snail's tail right behind you. Have you seen Catholic play? What have you heard of this Baton Rouge Catholic team this year's version?
I have not seen them play live this year. No, I know that they took two out of three against us. They swept us last year in the quarterfinals, and they have like 6 guys back from that lineup. William Schmidt on the mound is as good of a high school pitcher as I've ever seen, as a player, as a coach. The perfect game rankings came out today, and they're ranked number 1 team in the country by perfect game. And William Schmitz is projected to go in the first round. They said he's been up to 99 this year, which is just
Wow.
it's just insane. And he's got a hammer breaking pitch.
Mm.
He's really, really good on the mound. But they've got other guys on the mound too. It's not just a one trick pony, man. They're really good, and they're deep, and they're talented, and they compete hard. They're really good in their lineup 1 through 9. They've been to 2 national tournaments, and I think they won one of them, and the other one they competed at a high level. May have dropped one there, but I think they're, like you said, they've only lost to one team in the state, Mandeville. So it's not easy to do. Being part of that 2017 2018 team, I think we dropped 2 also, or maybe even 3 in 2018. So winning them all in baseball is extremely difficult. But
No
what
doubt.
Catholic has done to this point, man, is just they're definitely the team to beat.
I don't think there's any question in that regards, but the fact that you guys are in the 2 slot means you don't see them until state championship. So that's a good thing, perhaps. And you await them if you get that far. With that being said, let's talk about the playoff format. We've had this format for a handful of years now with the best 2 of 3s. When it first came out and to this point, are you in favor of this format, or are you more of the traditional, one game and see you later?
No, I like the 2 out of 3 format. One of the things that I'm not totally in favor of, and we haven't done it yet, it's passed for the next baseball season, is 2 out of 3 from the first round all the way through the state championship.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't particularly fond of that because for 2 reasons. Number one, I think that's a lot of high stress, highly competitive baseball for over a long period of time. And I worry a little bit about maybe the health of our kids and them being in situations where maybe an injury might happen. But we haven't done it yet. We're going to give it a try and see how it works. But also number 2, maybe for somebody who doesn't make the playoffs or maybe lose in the first round, it's a long time to wait until the end of the season, until maybe you can start up summer ball. So I don't know if I'm in favor of that yet. We'll see how it shakes out next season, but I am in favor of what we currently have with the 2 out of 3 series and trying to get the best teams to Sulphur to compete for that state championship. Next year we're going to have the semifinals, which are 2 out of 3, and the state championships at 2 out of 3. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of high level, high competitive baseball. We're definitely going to see who has the most depth, though.
I think there's a lot of concern with the format you're talking about, in the sense of in a semifinal. Let's say you go through a grueling 3 game set, then you got to wheel right back and play a best 2 of 3 in a championship. The thing that bothers me, Coach, and I want to get your point on this will be my last question. We're talking about pitch count caps now in baseball, and I get it to preserve arms and everything else. But if you're going to expand to what we're talking about, doesn't it seem like a little bit of I don't want to say double standard. I don't know if that's the right word I'm looking for, but you kind of see the contradiction a little bit to where, hey, look, my ace has got to only throw, what is it, 60 pitches, I think, and then they take him out. What are your thoughts on that aspect of it?
Yeah. One of the reasons why years ago we changed from the format that it was only at the 5A level, playing the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals in 2 days, was for that reason, because you almost make it an impossible decision for not just the coach but also for the player. You throw your ace in a quarterfinals, and then you win the semifinals with your number 2, and then what your ace is going to go. Coach, give me the ball to pitch for a state championship. So we got away from that, and we got into the best of 3 series, and we have the pitch counts. But yeah, I worry a little bit because it's difficult over these last probably 4 weeks, or really since district play started up. You're going to run your ace out there at least once a week, and you're expecting him to go out there and throw 100 plus pitches. Well, now you're adding another, at least five more games of that. You're not gonna not throw your ace in a playoff game. So now you're adding 5 more games of potentially 100 plus pitches, which it gets troublesome. It gets worrisome, especially in this day and age of what we're going through. And I've been listening and watching what's going on, especially in the big leagues, with all the rash of injuries. And Verlander said it's turned into a pandemic right now. Guys are throwing harder than they've ever thrown, or they're spinning it harder than they've ever spun it. Guys are chasing velocity like they've like never before, and it's a trickle down effect, and that is something that we need to keep an eye on and make sure that we're not abusing these kids that have this opportunity to go compete at the next level, that we're giving them every opportunity they can to go.
Coach Jeff Curtis, thank you for joining us, and good luck to you and your team throughout the rest of the season and the postseason. Thank you, Coach.
Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Our pleasure.
Me, Coach. Appreciate it.
That is Coach Jeff Curtis of the John Curtis Patriots. We're going to take a quick, short commercial break, and when we come back, we will have the head coach of the SUNO Knights baseball team, Coach Olen Parker, right here on the Hash It Out Show.
Erica Randolph, head coach of the Hahnville Tigers boys basketball team, and you are watching the Hash It Out Show.
Welcome back to the Hash It Out Show. I am your host, JB the Sports Guy, joined by VK Jones and George Peppers. Our next guest, he is the head coach of the SUNO Knights baseball team, who are in their first year of playing college baseball. We have the one and only Coach Olen Parker. Coach Parker, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. And how are you guys?
Doing great, Coach. Doing
Good.
great.
Good.
Coach, how did the establishment of this program start?
Well, I think it all attributed to the other institutions in the area starting baseball. I think Xavier started first, then down the line came Dillard, and I guess next had to be SUNO. I remember when Xavier started a few years ago, guy was telling me about it. He said, man, you need to apply. I said, nah, I don't know about that. And then Dillard came along, good friend of mine, Eddie Davis. He had the athletic director, which is our commissioner now. She was the athletic director. He said, I got a guy for you. I got a guy for you. And he called me and I said, man, baseball at Dillard, you got to be losing your mind. And then I started seeing that those guys could really compete. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, I'm at Baton Rouge Community College at the time, and I got the call about SUNO. I said, three strikes you out. So I guess that's the route I took.
Was it a long process or a short process?
Actually, it's pretty short. Athletic Director James Matthew called me, I think, on a Thursday afternoon. We were out practicing, just got done cutting the grass, hot and sweaty. I said, who is this calling me? So he called, I talked to him. He said, man, I heard you're the right man for the job. I said, what job? He said, SUNO, I'm the athletic director there. And I said, whoa. Um, and that's what started. And by Sunday, it was pretty much a done deal between he and I.
With you being the first coach in history of the Suno Knights baseball team, how hard was it to field a team together for this upcoming season?
Well, being that I was at a junior college and had resources all around with the junior colleges in the area and state of Texas, I've coached at Grambling, Louisiana Tech, been a scout. So I had a good network that to start with. So it wasn't that difficult.
Your team this year, and I got this online, correct me if I'm wrong, overall record 13 and 16, but conference record 9 and 5, and you're 6 and 3 at home. What can you say about your team this year before the GCAC tournament happens, which you guys will be a part of?
Yes. Well, the guys are starting to buy in. We have a real young team, a bunch of guys that hadn't played college ball before, and it takes a while to get them to break out of the old high school habits and introduce them to how college ball is played. So right now, the guys are really understanding what we're asking them to do. You know, in high school, pretty much they were worried about their stats and them getting a hit or them striking guys out. And in the beginning, they found out it doesn't go like that. It's all about teams. So right now, we're doing pretty good. You know, rolling as a team.
Before I pass it on to VK Jones, do you think it's important for all Louisiana State universities, all the universities in the state, to have a baseball program?
Absolutely. Because I remember growing up. I'm a product of New Orleans. I went to St. Augustine High School. Um, there was only one junior college in the state at the time, and that was Delgado. So there was no LSU units, no BRCC, no LSU streams, and nothing like that. So it was kind of a tough task. So a lot of guys like myself had to leave the state just to go play. And there's a lot of hungry guys that's willing to play the game and want to continue playing as well as getting their education.
Coach, man, it's good to have you on. First of all, I want to apologize to you. I seen you against it was BRCC and Delgado. I wanted to speak to you. I was just so much in the zone, broadcasting and everything else, trying to get things going. So I want to apologize to you at first. And man, Coach, how are you? And it's good to have you on the show. And like I told you before, man, I said I'll do all I can to help to push this Suno program that you got right now.
No problems, man. I saw you're pretty busy. You're tied up. You're doing the color analyst. And actually, you reminded me that you can watch the games on TV. I remember last year you covered a lot of our games, and a lot of people, as soon as the final out was there, hey, good game, man. Hey, this, hey, that. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I remembered, man, I can go and do some free recruiting. So you pretty much helped me out without helping me out.
No problem, man. First of all, how it's been so far transitioning to being the head man, being the guy. Because I know you might have experience before a little bit as a head coach, but you've been an assistant scout over the years. How it is now being the head man.
Well, it's a lot of fun. The thing about it is that I'm taking all the experiences that I learned as an assistant and driving to my assistants on things that needs to be done. Um, Pretty much, I'm just like a CEO. I'm telling you, my assistants do all the work, man, and they're wonderful people and they enjoy what they do and they welcome in the challenges. So I'm just putting the pieces together and letting them roll.
Absolutely. Your conference has been very, very interesting in itself. You look at it, Talladega is doing very well, and it looked like it's between Talladega and Wiley. or like your top two. You're right behind them in the third slot, and it's going to be interesting to see down the line. A couple weeks left in the season and stuff like that. How things looking for Suno to have a chance to at least have an opportunity to maybe get a chance at a one seed or a two seed going into the tournament, and not just that. Tell us where the tournament is going to be and when.
Well, right now we have Wally coming in this weekend, and in order for us to get a one or two spot, or actually a two, we'd have to sweep Wally and win out, and we have the advantage over those guys. We played Tougaloo fairly early before conference started, and we dropped two to those guys, 8-0 both games. We had this game scheduled, so I said, hey, let's just play it and we'll use it as conference games. But I think now that the guys are buying in, I think we got a chance once we get in the tournament to really put ourselves in a good position because we would have played everybody in the conference and know who our key pitching matchups against everyone.
Okay, and when is the tournament is going to be? Where
The
and when?
tournament is April 24th through the 28th, and that's in Jackson, Mississippi at Smith Wills Field.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Tell us a little bit about your players who has really stepped up for y'all this year, and especially your leaders or any seniors that really have stood out to help you out, especially take some pressure off you in your first year.
Well, first of all, I'd like to commend the guy, Caden Cam, Caden, um, Caden Cantu, our catcher. That guy's been a warrior. He's caught almost every game for us. We had a couple of catchers go down, so we had a guy that transferred in as a redshirt freshman. Has done a wonderful job. Um, the infield is Brandon Watson has been a leader for us. We don't have any seniors. We play a bunch of freshmen, and Junior Horizon is a freshman, a local guy that's been just Superman for us. The guy go out and pitch every inning and then go and play shortstop the next game. So collectively, I think all the guys have really done a great job.
So how it's been, what I'm saying, it seemed like I knew something was gonna be a shakeup because at first Xavier used to always play a lot of their games over at Wesley Barrow. But when you guys started your baseball program, there was a huge shakeup and a lot of changes, and you guys are playing a lot of your games now at Barrow. How you feel that you guys didn't have too much difficulty to having a home field?
Well, that was a selling point. As we brought guys on campus, they'll see the campus and I purposely have their back turned. And, baseball guys, they want to see what a baseball field is. So I'll take them to the dormitories, take them back to the campus, and they'll look across the street and say, what is that? Oh, that's our home field. That's where we practice. That was a deal cincher for most times when we brought guys in. But most part, I thought it was going to be a challenge. I think Xavier got out of their contract because they're supposed to be playing across the river, and that field wasn't ready yet. So they've been having a tough time, playing home games. I mean, their home games have been in Slidell. I think they played a couple at University of New Orleans. So that's just the way it went.
Absolutely. And you look at, what I'm saying, looking at how your program making a lot of progress and everything, and we see you out there. You out there trying to get kids, you're at Nunez, you're at a couple of these games, BRCC and stuff, trying to look for kids and everything. What does that say with all these programs opening up that maybe Southern Shreveport maybe need to start a baseball program or something? What you can say about that? Because it seemed like Southern Shreveport has been really been on a backslide a little bit because they just I think the only thing they have is probably basketball out
Right.
there over in that school, and that's a 2 year extension of the Southern University system.
Yes. I think it'll be difficult to start baseball being that they're so far over north. They would have to play almost like the other Shreveport junior colleges doing, playing in the Texas League. And that could be really costly because now you're a JUCO, now you're going to be D1 because they're Division 1 over there in Texas. So I think that'll be difficult.
Mm, absolutely. And last question, I'm gonna give this over to George Peppers. Um, man, what is the future with Suno baseball? Because you, like you mentioned, you have a very young team, and and y'all really making some achievements, and y'all have a possible chance of duplicating what Dillon University done last season in their first year of their baseball program.
Well, I think we're ahead of curve where we need to be, where people thought we would be. Um, I don't want to put any slight on Dillard, but at this point in time, we have more wins than they had. They got hot at the right time and won the tournament, but that tournament didn't consist of a tough Talladega's team, and I think that's going to throw a wrench in a lot of it because you're going to have a couple of starters that can beat those guys. But the future is bright. Actually, we're starting a JV program next year, and I want to give a lot of kids the opportunity to learn the game of baseball and get the education.
Oh,
Absolutely, and that's really huge right there. And I know, next weekend, next week, one of the couple games you'll be going against Nunez Community College, so we can't wait to see you on that one. George Peppers.
Coach Parker, first off, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule for joining us. My first question, I want to talk about the fact that SUNO is a first year program. How important is it for a lot of these predominantly black colleges to institute baseball into their athletic departments? Most of the time, they're no, football, basketball, or whatnot. But how important was baseball to be incorporated, especially at SUNO? And then you see these other schools that are predominantly black, attended, have baseball programs, and then succeeding with, whatnot.
Well, it's America's pastime sport, so every kid I could think of in New Orleans played baseball, tried it until they
Hmm.
got hit and quit. But I think it's very important, especially being on the lakefront. There's a lot that goes on there. You got UNO right there, you got us right there. So I think bringing baseball in was very, very instrumental for the school.
George, you there?
George, got another question?
Must have lost George for a second. Must have lost him.
Yeah, but
Go ahead, VK.
Coach, I tell you, man, I want to ask you also, how has been the crowds over for the home games this season over at Barrow? I know y'all hosted a good bit of opponents and everything.
Well, it's been wonderful, especially the student body. The students are eager to have sports on campus, and I know I go into CAF, I fraternize with all the kids on campus, and they looking for us to win every game. I think that's a lot of pressure that's being put on us, but it's been wonderful, and I have a lot of friends that really want to see this thing go well. So we get good crowds, man. It's been wonderful.
That's
All
a
right,
good
George
thing.
Peppers, are you
When
back?
when I am here, I am here. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go
Yeah.
ahead, buddy.
All right, Coach Parker. I'm sorry. This internet issue is acting a complete fool tonight. But anyway, my next one. I don't know what if there was a question in between what I asked first, so I don't want to sound repetitive. But with what Dylan,
We lost George again. Lost George again. Oh
Yes,
man.
wow. But I tell you, the student body, that's huge for y'all, and the alumni seem like they're starting to like it too, right?
Yes,
yes.
sir. Absolutely.
All
They're
right.
buying in, and I have a few guys that I went to high school with that played basketball at SUNO, their alumni, and I think they hang out on Friday nights, and that's their talk. Like, hey, let's go check SUNO out tomorrow morning at 1. So we've been getting those guys in.
Awesome.
All right. I'm back, guys. Look, now it's starting to kick off. It's been behaving for over an hour. Now it's acting stupid again.
Go ahead,
Anyway,
George.
Coach.
George, your question.
I think somebody's hacking our co-host because now he's going in and out. That's
I got a
crazy.
question for Coach. I got a question for
Go,
Coach.
go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Coach, so how does it feel to be back home coaching in the city you grew up in, but also to help these young kids become become great citizens once they finish with college?
Man, I tell you, I I had no earthly idea that I would ever be back in New Orleans. When I left in 2003, I said I'd never be back. And, God has a way of bringing you back for good occasions. And I think me coming back and learning a lot about the game of baseball and sharing these things that I did in Dallas and other areas is just wonderful, man. Um, I told my guys that we're NAIA school, but I'm gonna treat you guys like it's Division One. Everything we do is like Division One, and get them guys a great experience, and that's what you want to do. My guys I coached at Grambling, most of them have contacted me and said, "Coach, if you need anything, we're there," and that's just a great feeling, man. And I want these guys to have the same experience once they're finished.
Go ahead, George, with your question.
Oof. If I don't get interrupted, it'll be a miracle. But anyway, Coach Parker, I'm sorry. I guess my question that I was trying to ask before I got kicked away, with what Diller did last year in Aeronaut.
No way.
Now, VK, you got one more question for Coach? We let him go.
Yeah, I got one more.
All
I
right.
gotta ask you about your our alma mater, really,
Yes.
St. Augustine High School. They're really coming along lately. We just had Jeff Curtis earlier on the show, the head coach of John Curtis, and he mentioned, gave a big time compliment to Barry Ray and that program, seeing what's going on. But I want to ask the same question I asked him: what St. Augustine needs to do to really get themselves like together and establish as a consistent program, because they got talent on the round. They got some pitching a bit, but what does it need them to do to for them to be more consistent in getting some more wins? Because they got some good wins this year, but we
Yes.
know what else they can do. What it can prepare them to really enhance.
Well, I pretty much watch every game at Barrows that's being played. Um, what I see is, and young guys, it's just the nature of what they're doing now. Most of those guys are just worried about themselves. They're not really bought in to what the coaches are trying to get them to do. Everybody get up there, they're trying to hit a 3-run home run. Nobody's on base. Why are you trying that? How about getting on? And they fall behind, and then they got to play catch up. Now there's more pressure on you. There's a bunch of guys. They have a lot of talent, man. It's probably the most talented team of St. Aug that I've seen, and I saw some real talented teams. It's just buying into what the coaches are teaching, and staying together. You got a couple of guys signed scholarships already. Now you got some seniors that pressing that haven't signed, and they're trying to put up godly stats to get to a college campus. That's exactly what I see.
And I definitely agree with you. I always believe the biggest thing I seen with St. Aug, and I keep saying and saying, they need a bullpen. They just need, like, to me, like, three pitchers. I think they have is good, but I think they need four, because if St. Aug can get two solid starters,
Hmm.
a setup, and a closer, I think they can win more games. I really could, because I done seen some great teams the last couple of years. But biggest thing I see, they starting pitchers not bad, but I'm like, okay, where's your setup guy for
Hmm.
when they're tired? Because you can't keep them in there long, because if they start getting hit around, that's trouble. You got to get somebody to slow it down. So I always say with St. Augustine, they don't need five or six. Five pitchers would be awesome, but I don't know if you're going to get them. Get a solid four. If they can get a solid four pitchers on a staff, they'll be good. Three is
Well,
good, but just not enough.
one thing I noticed that they're trying doing matchups a lot.
Mhm.
They should, once you play a team once, they're gonna do some data, some homework on you. They're gonna be well prepared for you the second time. Mix it
Absolutely.
up, pitching a different pitcher. Make them guess how can we get to this guy. And if you pitch the same guy at him, they're gonna understand what he's doing, what they need to do to defeat you. That's what I think. They don't mix them up well. Change the
Mm.
guy, use another guy. I've seen about 7, 8 good arms that they got, but big game, they're gonna pitch their big game pitcher. How about bringing him at the end to win the game? How about
Mm.
you get more out of him? If you got 3 games that week, if you don't start him and you bring him at the back end, then you're gonna have some validity. You're gonna get a lot out of him. But if he pitches that one game, if he loses, guess what? You don't have that guy anymore.
Wow, and you're absolutely right. I seen that last weekend with BRCC and Nunez of what Glenn Powell did with Andre Rue, who had a great promising start to the season, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden he kind of dipped a bit, but he put him in that bullpen. He came in late that Friday night, helped them to that win, and then he came in Saturday and helped them get another win.
That's right.
So yes, sometimes you got to mix it up and try something new. You're absolutely
That's
right,
right.
Coach.
Coach Parker, we want to thank you for joining us tonight on this show, and we wish you nothing but success going forward with your SUNO Nights baseball program.
Thank you. And anytime you guys want me on the show, I'll be there.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Coach. Appreciate it.
All righty. You guys have a good night.
You too.
You too.
That's Coach Olen Parker. Let's see if we can get George back in here. My man George having bad luck, about to have a meltdown. George, you all right, man?
I'm all right. I don't know if you saw the chat. I said this Restream's acting like VK's men's bracket picks.
I don't know, Miss Restream. We're good. I don't know. It
I
might
don't
be
know
your
what's going on.
internet,
Maybe
your phone. I don't know.
It might be.
it's. I don't think it's my phone. I'm just being messy though. But look, I wanted to ask Coach Parker, and I don't know if you picked up because I was halfway through with my question. With what Dillard did in their first year, getting to the national tournament and getting dismissed quickly, did he feel any pressure to try to replicate that success?
I'm going to tell you this because I actually did research on Coach, and he actually said in another interview that he wanted his team to be successful early. He said the main goal was to have a winning record. So right now they don't have that,
No, they're
but
three under 500.
they have a winning conference record.
They
And
do.
to me that was more not shocking to say, but I guess I could say more important because you're going to the tournament. You lost George. You're going to the tournament and you have a winning record and you're in the top three of the GCAC conference in your first year. So I think he's done a marvelous, fantastic job this year, VK.
And he actually has just a tad bit more wins. It's almost similar situation to Dillon a little bit because
Yeah,
he was a little under 500. The most important thing is the conference record. That's the most important thing. And for him to get them where they are and right in the thick of things, of the chance to possibly win now the HBCU conference tournament because they're still GCAC in NAIA, but that's going to change because now their conference is the HBCU conference.
that's right.
So, for all that being said, I think Coach Parker has done some great work, some yeoman's work more than anything else. I met him a couple years ago when he was assistant at BRCC, and he was hopefully trying to change some things over that program, and it wasn't surprising that opportunity was going to come for him to become a head coach. And I'm very happy for him that he's doing great and handling some business and everything else. And I think he's going to get some good kids to come over there. And I think he has the right administration. Big ups to James Andrews, who's the athletic director over there. Met him about a couple weeks ago. Very good guy. We're going to be talking with him very, very soon. He's got some things lining up, especially with the basketball program and stuff like that. But I think they have the right people, and they're really doing what they can with the administration to support the athletics because they're not too long just bringing athletics back to SUNO, and with them launching the baseball program and soon the softball program and golf. That's the two next things
Mm-hmm.
that they're trying to do over there. Suno has a very bright future, and it's like, why not take advantage? You got a dorm. You've been having a dorm for a while and everything else, and looking into the area is not bad of an area in itself where it is. Not too much crime going on and stuff like that. Very patrolled. So the future is very bright for Suno, especially on the baseball field.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's just great to see baseball at these black institutions. Xavier picking it up, Dillard last year, now Suno. This is It's great. It's great, man.
It-
And I just hope, like he says, that when I ask him the question, should all institutions in the state of Louisiana have baseball? And he says yes. I think they should. I'm in total agreement, and hopefully, I hope it happens.
and I think it's we're close to having it because I think every program now in this state, I think everybody has baseball. You can't say now. Southern Shreveport is the rare exception
Hmm.
that doesn't have baseball, and I think, and I agree with Coach, they would have difficulty,
Yes.
especially the area where they are, because they're even struggling right now. The only sport they have is basketball.
Hmm.
That's really shocking. But at the same time, that's one of the schools in the Southern University system that is like really struggling in itself. But I think every program from the junior college all the way to the big time has a baseball program. And I don't know what other school that doesn't have it, but I think every school has filled the box. That's amazing of what it has done over the years when we didn't see all these colleges when we were younger. Now you look all these, it's amazing how the sport of baseball has really grown, and I'm really proud to be a resident, born and raised in Louisiana, and seeing how this sport has grown.
Most definitely. All right, guys. Before we get out of here, let's talk about the national championship. And we lost George again. The national championship.
That internet.
Yeah, between Purdue and UConn started off close early on, close first half. UConn had a 6 point lead going to halftime, and then UConn just took off. And once again, another double digit win. I think that's 11 or 12 in a row in the tournament. Um, George, your thoughts first about
Well,
UConn versus Purdue.
okay. Well, first of all, VK and I hung out together to watch that game at a local establishment that might be on suspension here in a matter of days, but we'll talk about that off air. But the game itself, I told VK when it got to halftime, because of the way Connecticut closed, they closed on an 11-2 run to get the lead by 6. And I turned to VK and said, this thing is done. Our bracket pool, yeah, I had Purdue to win it. But I saw the way UConn closed, and I turned to VK. I said, dude, it was fun for 20 minutes, but UConn's winning it, cutting down the nets in the next 20. I just felt like, and Edie, yeah, he got 33 points, but he looked too finesse in that game for me. It's like, man, go up with some authority, dude. You're
Go ahead, VK. Your thoughts about
Huh.
UConn versus Purdue.
Well, it was a game for a half, but at the same time, I mean, UConn went on a nice little run at the end of the half, up 6. But then the first 6 minutes of that second half, that would told the whole game right there. If I said it myself, if Purdue starts out bad, not too bad, it could be a game maybe for the first 10 of the second. But when UConn started getting going big in the first 5, 6 minutes, I was like, this is trouble. When they got to the 15, 16 point lead, I went to Georgia and said, y'all in danger now. This trouble. This big trouble now. I don't know. I don't know. It's the point of no return. But when it got to under 8 minutes, I'm like, it's done. It's done. UConn Huskies, and out of all the teams in college basketball we've seen this year, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, probably the most consistent team we've seen all season long. Houston, they was not bad. They was straight, but they had some hiccups.
Hmm.
North Carolina had a lot of hiccups. You name it, Arizona had some hiccups. But we seen maybe one hiccup all year from UConn. And people and some teams is taking their best shots, but they got back up and knocked them down from pillar to post. They have been the team all season long. The UConn Huskies, and probably the most dominating national champion since UNLV. And I'm straight up to say that because what they have done in the last 2 years has been absolutely unbelievable. Danny Hurley has done a great job. He's going to continue it. It depends. It depends on who's coming back. Who knows? We might have a first three-peat next year. So we will see what happens. But this is a hell of a team.
Go ahead, George.
Um, for me, we talk about dynasties in sport, and Connecticut is building one. Now, I don't know what they've got coming. I don't have on Memorex what they've got coming back or what's leaving, but Dan Hurley has done superlative work there. And how about Mike Greenberg trying to kick that off yesterday on when they talked about the national title game? I would back up the Brinks truck if I'm Kentucky to get him there. No, he ain't leaving. He ain't leaving Connecticut. Because of John, for those of you that have been under a rock, John Calipari is now the new head coach at Arkansas. He actually landed down there today, and they did his welcome presser. Uh, I have my thoughts on that, but that's another topic. Um, what does next year bring for Connecticut? Again, what do they have coming back with the transfer portal, the NIL, freshmen? How many people are going to leave? If I'm Connecticut basketball player, why leave? You've won 12 straight tournament games by 10 to 15 points per. Why leave? You're making games afterthoughts. Now, I hear people say, well, they make college basketball boring.
Where at?
Step up. Step up and beat them. Calm your nerves. You know, I mean, come on, man. That's just absolute silliness. Connecticut was clearly the best team, and you mentioned the hiccup he came. That was at Creighton, and they got dusted. But Creighton shot the lights out that night at home, and that was the one bad game UConn had all year. Creighton shot, I think, in excess of 60% or something like that, something crazy to beat them, and that's what it's going to take: Herculean efforts. You know, it's funny. I saw what they call the way too early top 25. Connecticut's fifth.
So what?
Like Duke is ahead of them. Like Duke, really?
That's due to Duke's recruiting class. They got the number one
Why
player.
they do? They recruit like crazy. They don't. And look, UConn doesn't recruit the alpha dogs like Duke does. That's fact. But what they
That's the
get,
fact, because Dan Hurley said it. He's looking for guys that can help his program win. He said we recruited. We've been looking at big time players that's ranked in the top 10, and we
not
feel
worried
like
about
some
all
of those
that.
guys don't fit our program.
Exactly. And they're not worried about those 5 stars, top five, top tens. They want dudes that are going to go in there with a lunch pail and a hard hat, and they know it's time to go to work and go get it. And that's what they've done the last 2 years. Has it been anticlimactic? Sure has. But you know what? I'm appreciative of dynasties, current and ending. When you can dominate and be at a different level and force traditional powers to catch up to you, Connecticut doesn't recruit like the Kentuckys, like the Dukes, like, the UCLAs and the Pac-12 teams, the SEC. They don't recruit like that. But as I said, what they get, they make maximum use of. And we, as sports reporters, as sports journalists and hosts, have to be appreciative of what we're seeing. This is the beginnings of potentially some long-term domination by UConn, and I say that with the volatility of the NCAA tournament, but they seem to make it an afterthought.
They might catch up with the women, maybe. They already got a established dynasty with 8 titles. Now
Yep.
it might be just some more. So, that's just what it is. They might catch up with the women.
I'm going to say this right quick. Since 2011, which school has won the most national championships? Who do y'all think it is?
That'd be Connecticut.
It
UConn.
sure is, with four.
Four. They won four of them. Two this past 2 years.
Yep.
And wasn't the Kemba Walker title in that mix too?
Kemba Walker's
The
2011.
Okay, that was the first one.
Yep.
And the
It's
second
not.
one.
It's not the first one because they have more than four. I think they have five or six. They have
Yeah,
six.
but in
They have six.
since
But when
you,
we
you
going through the last 14 years, yeah, George, that's the first one. Then Kevin Ollie took over in 2014 because
yeah,
Calvin
the interim
retired.
run.
Who? Kevin Ollie?
Yeah,
No, he was
well,
He wasn't officially named the head coach. He was still
He-
interim, if I remember
yeah,
right.
he was. Yeah, he was. It was in number one. Then it made it official.
Y'all
Yeah,
sound
they
like
waited till after they won the Natty to make that official. With
Sure did.
that was right when Jim Calhoun left, correct?
Yes.
okay.
Okay, and he had that problem or something. Some kind of a thing came up,
Yeah,
and
the health
Ali
scare,
took
huh?
over. Yeah, he wasn't made official that I recall. I could be completely wrong here, but look, again, we appreciate what this program has done. You would expect that of a Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, you know, North Carolina. I mean, and I don't know why I
Yeah,
put them in that
yeah. You
sense, but
name
I'm
it,
just
them. They
they're
all
blue
have,
bloods.
they all have won since 2014. Just one.
Exactly, exactly.
Villanova has two. Virginia got one. Baylor got one. Kansas got one.
And look, let me explain my Purdue pick. And look, and from November before the year, I mentioned to the both of you, I thought that this was the team that had the goods. I did not know Connecticut was going to be this good. And when it got to the final, my brother told me, he goes, "Man, I think you're in trouble." I said, "I think I am too, but I'm going to hope against hope." Look, he keeps it real. Y'all know that.
Uh huh.
He does.
Yeah.
But he's like, I think you're in trouble. I was like, well, we'll see. I mean, all it takes is for them to be better than UConn one night. But I was trying to say before I got cut off with Zach Edey, I thought he was too finesse Monday night, even with the 33 points that he scored. A guy that big, he was letting dudes swat him in the second half. He wasn't crashing like he was in the first half. He wasn't getting to the ball. Connecticut changed their schematic in the second half. And I think that frustrated Edie in some points in that game when they made, like VK mentioned, the clinching run, the run that put them way ahead,
Let me ask you a
in
question
that.
right quick.
Go
Have you
ahead.
ever seen any team attack Edie the way Connecticut attacked them?
Nope. I can't say that I have.
Me neither.
And again, it goes back to coaching. He's 7'4", 310, 320, right?
Yeah.
Big guy.
Mhm.
And when you project him in the NBA level, I think at best he's a mid first round pick. At best. I don't see anything that says, holy cow, I gotta have him. He's a good player. He's gonna carve out a decent career, but he's not gonna be the game breaker that some GMs are gonna screw around and take him and think that he is. I don't see it. Connecticut shows you how to defend him. And NBA coaches get paid more than college coaches. Last I checked.
But
Just
then,
throwing it out there.
on top of that, Connecticut got some big bodies too.
They
Connecticut
do,
got a
but
couple. They got a couple. They got a
One
couple of
seven
seven.
1 7 footer.
One,
Clingan,
no, not one.
Clingan,
They got two 7 foot. They got a 7 footer
come on,
and a
Clingan.
7'2" and a 6'11". So you got three big bodies you
Okay,
rotate
VK.
in, and
But
that's
VK,
big.
what Jared's saying, and I agree, is that Connecticut schematically defended Edie like nobody else did on the schedule this year. They went at him. They ran those bodies at him. That's why Edie, yes, he scored 33, but how much of that in the second half was like outcome already decided? Let me pick up a few garbage points here and there. See, that's what I'm 100% in agreement here. But as far as a projectile for the draft in June, he'll get picked. I'd say
He might.
20s.
You say 20s. He might go number one.
No, he won't.
Nah,
There's no
nah,
chance he goes number one.
nah. I think the thing
No.
about him
Okay,
is
hold
that
on, hold on, hold on. Wait.
yeah.
Okay, so who goes number one?
I don't know who's
Well,
draft eligible yet. I don't have the
I'm not
it's
even
not
sure.
Bronny. I can tell you it's not Bronny James. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, we know that.
It's
I mean that no,
it's
he
gonna be an all around weak draft again this year, and you
They
have to
call
think
this
about
the
this.
weakest draft in history already.
Exactly. I wouldn't
they
be
are.
surprised. Edie might go if he don't go top 10. He definitely gonna be probably maybe late first round. The thing about him is he's got to develop some kind of movement in the game. All I see with Zach Edey is another Max Garza, and Max Garza, I don't think he's on the NBA roster right now. And
I
Garza
don't know.
was more of a quicker and faster player than Edey.
See last
So,
year's
saying,
okay, I'm sorry, VK.
no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say last year's draft had our CEO here going crazy. Go Spurs, go! Because they won the Wembanyama sweepstakes,
That's right,
and
baby.
Mhm.
I don't know if you heard, but they're about to trade him to the Knicks for Mitchell Robinson. I'm kidding. I'm kidding when I say that. Um, no, but no. Last year's draft had Victor Wembanyama and who else? I mean,
Good
no
question.
dogs. Like, am I right?
Good
All right.
They
question.
didn't.
You're right.
And then this year, who can you get excited about? See, here's the thing we don't know: the internationals. We haven't obviously none of us have watched any of the international players that are going to be draft eligible. We don't know what they've got. I mean, outside of Victor
Let me stop you
Wembanyama
right
last
quick.
year.
Let me stop
What's
you.
that?
Let me stop you right quick.
Talk to me.
Because I'm looking at a mock draft right now.
All right.
21, Orlando Magic predicted to pick Zach Edey.
That's
21.
about
So
that's about right.
you on the money.
Right.
But the number one person they got, number one to the Detroit Pistons, is Alexander Sarr.
Who?
He plays for Perth Wildcat,
Australia.
Australia. He's
Yeah.
7'1", 216. I had never heard of this guy. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I want. I'm gonna go back to you right quick, George. This is what I'm
All
talking
right.
about with the NBA and why I say the women have more stars now than college basketball men. Because you have the one and done rule, and kids are 1 year and out. We don't know who are stars in college basketball no more. We don't at all. If they would stay 2 years, we gonna see a total maturation difference from freshman to sophomore year. I saw it with Greg Monroe. And the women, yeah, this is why they're stars. Because they have to play 4 years. They have to change this rule. If they change it to at least 2 years, the college basketball game for men will be better. And I just want to tell y'all this. When you think of teams that have won the championship, UConn this year, UConn last year, Kansas before that, Baylor, skip COVID, Virginia, they brought everybody back. Villanova had teams full of veterans. That 2017 North Carolina team, they all came back from losing the year before to Villanova. Okay, Duke in 2015. The teams that are winning the men's national championship have veterans. They have players who are staying for more than 1 year. The teams with these freshman stars, they are not winning. It was one thing that I agree with Mike Greenberg, that a team full of freshmen will not win. And that has been the case with John Calipari at Kentucky. He's not going to win with a team full of freshmen. He needs veterans.
He needs to go back. And I told this to George in the conversation. Will it work in Arkansas? I don't know, but here's the thing. It could
Be the
work in
same
Arkansas.
thing.
No, no,
He's
no,
gonna,
no.
he's gonna get the
It,
talent, but it's gonna be
here's,
1 year and done.
hold on. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm about to tell you. Here's the
Mm.
thing I'm gonna tell you. And George understand where I'm coming from with this. The only way this works, this is what I'm waiting for. Because when this thing was not working in Kentucky, I'm waiting on the John Calipari from UMass. That's what I'm waiting on. He had veterans.
The same thing
Why you
Mike
think
Greenberg
UMass
said. He had veterans at UMass. The same thing he said.
and why you think UMass was the program what it was? He needs to go back to that because if he can get veterans or transfers up in there, that can help. Arkansas might get back up to where they was before if he can get to that mentality and get out of that one and done. Because I really think that 2 year rule need to come into play. They got NIL, so now you need to put the 2 year rule in, and I bet you the men's game is going to get back into it. UConn, I
That's
would
that,
not be surprised if them veterans come back. They could go back. They got NIL now, and knowing Danny Hurley, knowing the game, he gon' he gonna get up in there, and it's amazing how much of a better coach Danny Hurley is than his own brother.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna pass it back to George. I mean, back in the day, we could sit here and name players that played more than 1 year college basketball. I can tell you many North Carolina players, from Ty Lawson to I'm about to say his name, but I ain't saying his name. Raymond Felton, Sean May. I can
Tyler Hansborough.
Hansborough, Wayne Ellington. I go to Chris Jackson. I go to Shaq. I go to Duke players. I mean, I could name so many players. Oh, yeah, you have some great one and done's like a Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis that won championship. Yes, but so many players I can name that played more than 1 year, you know, and they were stars in the game. You don't have that right now. And if they would stay one more year, you would have it. Go ahead, George.
You mentioned your mock draft, and an Australian dude is one. I'm curious if you still have it pulled up. If you don't worry about it. I wanted to see where Filipowski from Duke was. Because he's another one that they kind of built up a little bit this year. Kyle Filipowski,
I'm about
the
to look it
forward
up
from.
right now because I
I
saw
mean,
him.
if you didn't have it up, don't worry about
I
it. I
got it.
was just. Oh, okay.
I got it up. I got it up.
But I want to mention about Calipari while you're looking it up. I told VK this Monday night. I get his point. Calipari is what, north of 60? I think, what is he, 60 something years old now?
I
Mhm.
don't know.
Something like that. Do you honestly think he could spell the word transfer portal, let alone employ it? He
Mm,
is so grounded in his ways with the one and done. Arkansas, look, Calipari, how many national championships Calipari has? One. How many national championship caliber teams do they have? A lot.
Oh,
He's
60,
only he's only
65.
won. He's 65. He's only won one. You know who pointed this out to me? Once again, the MVP, my brother Emmanuel. So that dude's grossly overrated. I was like, whoa, okay. He's been at this game a minute, but he's like, how many national championship caliber teams did he have? And he's only got one. And that team, the three of us could have coached that team and won it.
yeah,
The Anthony Davis title. That
yeah,
was a team that was a super team. They were ridiculously good. Arkansas, y'all got sold a bag of beans. I don't think Calipari is going to give y'all what y'all want. Eric Musselman gave you two
I
Elite
think
Eights.
I think he get players. He's gonna get the
He
players.
will.
He can
He
recruit.
will. But if he still employs Jared, if he still employs the one and done, I don't like it. I don't like
Oh
this.
yeah, we
There's no
don't. But
doubt.
I think he said in the interview, man. He said if his guys can get out and get millions of dollars in the NBA and provide for their families, he said, who am I to stop them?
Uh,
I don't see him changing. I don't see him changing.
And that's
I
why Arkansas will not win like everybody thinks they will. They won't.
for his legacy, I understand setting his ways, but for his legacy, he needs to go back to what it was, how he coached at UMass. To me, I, I yeah, you can say grossly overrated because of the fact of the one and done stuff. I will never say grossly overrated because what he has done at UMass, and look where UMass has been since. They've been in the depths of freaking hell. So, just saying, Kentucky winning that title was just okay, icing on the cake of a great career. But if you're going to salvage and save your legacy, you need to go back to what you did at UMass to help Arkansas enhance and to probably have a chance at a first national championship since Nolan Richardson in 1993.
I'm going to say this, and then we're going to close it out to answer George's question. This mock draft has Filipkowski as a lottery pick,
Hmm.
going number 13 to the Portland Trailblazers.
Interesting.
Interesting. So, but time will tell when the draft comes along in July or late June. But time will tell.
Big ups, big ups to Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Women's Gamecocks winning the NCAA tournament undefeated. Then on top of that, the highest rated game. They topped the LSU Iowa game in itself. The viewership is
Why is
crazy. You
that?
mentioned it. You
Why is
mentioned
that though?
you
Why is
mentioned
that?
it.
Why is
Exactly.
that?
I agree. No,
Stars.
I agree with you. You're
Stars.
right.
There it
You
is.
stars. And it's gonna continue more and more in itself that more of these players are coming. Because you look at the future and everything else of all these teams and everything else. South Carolina is gonna be back in itself,
Get back. Yep.
saying I wouldn't be, and don't be surprised. Look out for the USC Trojans
Oh yeah.
because they
Number
got
one recruiting
Juju
class.
and the number one recruiting class in the nation.
Oh,
It's
watch
gonna
out.
be
But you
sick
better
coming up next year.
you better pay attention to Connecticut. When they get healthy, that is an albatross. They are going to crush people next year. Connecticut,
Well, Paige
they
Beckers is gone, so
no, she's
No,
not.
no, she's not.
No, she's back.
No, she's not.
wait. I thought she
Sorry about
dropped
your
it.
luck there, my boy. No, COVID,
No, buddy.
COVID. She's
She got
taking
a
it
COVID year, and she really had
a red shirt,
another year because she missed the year, so she had a red
2
shirt
years.
anyway. Yeah, She still can do grad. Yeah. Oh yeah, buddy. You can look it up.
Yeah, she
You can look it up. She
Paige
coming
Becker's
back.
better
She
than
announced
Caitlin
it.
Clark.
She already announced it.
Yep.
Paige Beckers is back.
Well, despite a bad call, better than Creighton Clark, they didn't win the game.
Oh
Bottom
wow.
line, they didn't win the game.
He getting
So
mad, Jared.
I
I'm
He
do.
not
getting
I'm
mad.
not mad.
He
I'm not
mad. He
mad.
mad.
No, you
Yeah, you
should be
are.
mad because
I'm
your
not.
girl ain't come through. She
Well,
had a
how?
great
When the
game.
referee called a
She had a
bogus.
Hold
great
on.
game.
Hold
She
on.
had a
Hold
Hold
on,
on.
great
bro.
game. Don't
Hold
get
on.
me
Hold
wrong.
on.
Paige
They
gave me a
both
lot of
made
respect.
7 shots. They both shot under 50% that game.
Yeah, they
I
were not
think,
themselves.
yeah, Caitlin had 21, Paige had 17. So I'm not gonna sit here and say Caitlin had a better game than Paige. No, I'm not gonna go that far. I think it was pretty close, bro. Pretty neck and neck that game.
But that call is what everybody talks about. But back
Yeah,
to the
it's what man, because one angle look like she's still, another angle look like she's dragging her leg. Ooh, it's tough. It's a tough
yeah, but
call.
you don't make that call that late. That it has to be blatantly obvious to make that
I
call.
agree. I do agree
You
with you.
know,
I do agree.
anything marginal, you swallow the whistle and let it go. Would Paige have hit that shot? I don't know.
We don't
I
know.
mean,
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you I don't know how true this is, but I just read an article right here that Paige Beckers is going, and I don't know how true this is, going to the transfer portal instead of the draft. I'm just reading an article about it that came out a day ago.
where'd you find it?
Yeah. What's the
Who's
source?
your source?
Who's my sport? Who's my source? I'm just looking at
Source.
Yeah.
source. I say source. Sportskeeda.
Oh man, that's clickbait.
Sports Kedia, boy, that's fake.
Clickbait,
Sports Kedia is
man.
fake. Is it fake?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
man.
no, let me. There is something I will bring. Caitlin Clark's jersey. This is the most obvious story of the night. Caitlin Clark's jersey will be retired by the University of Iowa.
Now
Much
that was
deserved.
breaking news.
That
we
that's
we knew
much
that.
deserved.
Yeah.
That's much deserved, though. That's not really breaking news. That's obvious.
Yes.
You know, that's plainly obvious. But my kudos to South Carolina and Camila Cardoso and all that squad and Dawn Stanley. You know, the Retribution tour. You had to think they were going to win it. We had it pegged right, all three of us. But it wasn't a guarantee that they would, because remember, they had some slip ups in the tournament this year. They kind of had some scares a little bit, you
Yep.
know. Some rugged Oregon State team that stayed with them a minute. Indiana came back on them.
Yep.
Then in the Final Four, NC State, it took them a little while before they got rid of them.
Yep.
And then, you know, they took care of Iowa because Iowa threw their best punch early and they didn't have anything late. But you know what's crazy? I'm going to make this fearless prediction. The WNBA draft is April 15th.
Yep.
An event nobody watches, that draft is going to draw bigger numbers than the NBA draft.
All them stars in that draft
Mhm.
this year?
Yes,
Yeah, they gonna
yes.
be.
Cameron Brink, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Charisma Osborne, who's pegged to go to New York from UCLA and one of the best on-ball defenders in the country. That young lady could get it. I mean, this draft is going to have stars. And for all of you that are crapping on Haley Van Lith, y'all need to chill. Y'all need to chill, and I'm going to say why.
My God.
That's Kim Mulkey that did that. Put a shooting guard on a point guard and make her play one on one. You kidding? Come on,
Yeah.
Haley Van
Like
Lith is not a point.
it's like I said, and we gotta go ahead and end this. It's like I said
Yeah,
about
we got to.
I'm gonna say it about Haley Van Lith. It's like I told people, she came to a team and the most talented team she ever played with, besides the USA team she was on in the summer with Angel.
Yep.
And I really think she didn't gel well with sacrificing her game and trying to get others involved. Not her fault, because she's been the star wherever she's gone. And she
Yep.
went to a team where she wasn't the star. So I think it's just a bad fit. It was a bad fit overall for her. And I hope she goes somewhere to where she's back comfortable. She's the leader and she's able to play. Because Haley Van Lith could shoot the ball. And this year, Haley couldn't shoot. That was just strange to see. Like, you watch her play at Louisville, she was a knockdown shooter. And this year, man, she could hit nothing. So I just think
Hmm.
she just wasn't comfortable with that system. And I wish her well. I really do. Because I like
Me
watching
too.
Haley play. I think she's a good player. But on that note, we're gonna go ahead and end this show. We're gonna be back here next week, ladies and gentlemen. Back here next week. Want to say a special thank you to SUNO Knights baseball coach, Coach Olen Parker, and another special thank you to the John Curtis Patriots baseball coach, Coach Jeff Curtis, for joining us tonight on the show. It was truly an honor and a pleasure to have them on the show to talk to them. And we will be back next week. Last words, VK.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big shout out going to the WWE.
Oh
Great
shoot!
weekend of WrestleMania. All I'm gonna tell you is this: Paul Levesque, Triple H, hell of a job of the event. Great job post Vince McMahon era. They saw a very, very good WrestleMania. I know the results wasn't really good for you, Jared, but at the same time, I enjoyed every minute of it. You know what I'm saying? And my man finished the story.
Oh
Love
damn!
it. Love it. But it's good to be on the show. You know what I'm saying? I got Nichols baseball Friday, Nunez and Delgado this weekend. You know what I'm saying? But man, we continue to grow the show and everything else, man. Gotta love it, the Hash It Out show every Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
George Peppers, last words.
How do you follow that?
Easy.
Just fading out. Look, I get the WWE thing. I'm a big fan of Triple H. I thought he did a stupendous job, but I want to give another shout out to somebody else on that WWE roster, and that's Samantha Irvin. What she did, the emotion she took you through
Yeah.
with her announcements. No, not the Cody. No, no. Follow the weekend. The emotions that were palpable all weekend long. That she drove you into the moment. And when Cody won, that was the encapsulator. But look, this weekend coming, you've got, to me, one of the best golf weekends in all of sport. It is the Masters. It starts tomorrow in Augusta, and Tiger is looking pretty sharp. Now, will he
Put
win it?
your money on
No,
Tiger
no.
Woods plus 1,500
I
to
know.
win, Joe.
I'm looking. I'm looking at that. Oh, am I? I'm hunting for price, dude. And Tiger hitting the ball the last couple of days has been hitting it pretty good. Well, I'm just saying the weekend itself, the Masters, baseball is now into full swing in the major league level. College baseball continues to move. The storyline now shifts to Baton Rouge. When will LSU recover? They have lost 4 straight SEC series. They better get it going quick. They did run Rule McNeese the other night, last night. I'm sorry. They run Rule McNeese 16-0. That doesn't solve any problems. They got to find a way to win series in the SEC because they may miss the SEC tournament if they continue to play the way they're playing. But nevertheless, it's another great show with you guys, and we'll do it again next week. We continue to grow, like VK says, we continue to grow and get better and continue to make this product what it is. Actually, yesterday, I was on the road with my mom yesterday, paying bills, and I wore my Hash It Out show shirt. She's like, "Why you wearing it?" I said, "Don't worry about it." Sure enough, I go into Winn Dixie yesterday to pick up a few things. A guy, just a random stranger, hey man, I don't know his name. I didn't get his name. And he's like, "Is that the show y'all do on Facebook?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Y'all do a good job. Keep up the good work." I didn't get his name though. It was a quick conversation. I was like, "Damn," But we continue to do great things and continue to get better. And pretty soon we're gonna have to come up on season number 2 of the Hash It Out Show Game of the Week. Because the schedules are gonna start firing off in rapid fashion with the completions and everything else. So we got to get on that. And I do have a suggestion for you, for both of you, for pre NFL draft. If you want to do the Hash It Out Show mock draft on here, and we could post it on the site.
Or we just post it on the site.
So no discussion, because somebody's gonna get passionate about the Saints here and get wild and pick to me. I mean, look, I like the NFL draft. I know somebody on here don't, VK. I know you're not a fan of it because you say it's boring, but man, the exercise in it is beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. We're back next week right here on the Hash It Out Show. Y'all take care.
My name is Micah Higgins, head boys basketball coach at Bonneville High, and you're watching the Hash It Out Show. Go Bruins!
You're watching the Hash It Out Show!
Thank you for watching the Hash It Out show. Please like,